is the regularly scheduled meeting for the Commission on Persons with Disabilities, Wednesday, March 11th. And we'll go ahead and call to order. We'll start with roll call, please. Chair Mullings.
Here.
Vice Chair Bondsmith.
Here.
Commissioner Beeler.
Here.
Commissioner Knadler.
Here.
Commissioner Lipp. Commissioner Lyons.
Here.
And Commissioner Schmitz.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Next agenda item is non-agenda public comment. Seeing that there is none, we'll move to the minutes. This is the only consent calendar item are the minutes from January 14th, 2026. So hopefully you all had a chance to review those. And if all looks good and you've reviewed and are ready to approve, then we can do a motion to approve.
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. And then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that's approved unanimously. Thank you. And so now into regular agenda items. Our first agenda item for this evening is City of Alameda staff member Danielle Mueller will present the CARP annual report 2025. That's the climate and resiliency plan. I'll pull up your slides. Yes.
Good evening. I'm Danielle Mueller. I'm Sustainability and Resilience Manager for the City of Alameda, and I'm really pleased to be here tonight to share with you our 2025 annual report for the Climate Action and Resiliency Plan of the city. We have a plan that is really ambitious. It was adopted originally in 2019. It was updated last year in 2025. Our goals as a city are to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 50% below 2005 levels by 2030, to reach net zero emissions by 2045, and to prepare for the climate impacts that we're facing, such as shoreline flooding, rising groundwater, as well as heat, smoky air we've experienced in the past, and earthquakes and liquefaction. Earthquakes not necessarily climate related, but liquefaction can have a connection with groundwater. We did, as part of that 2025 update, we did a new greenhouse gas emissions inventory for 2022. And that inventory showed that a little over half of our emissions in the city come from driving cars on the road. About a third come from burning fossil fuels, natural gas in buildings, that's residential and non-residential. And then the remainder is off-road engines or things like portable generators, lawn equipment, leaf blowers, and then solid waste and water and wastewater. We created this last year a metrics hub to track how we're doing against all of the metrics in CARP. There's quite a few metrics for each of our focus areas. I should have put a slide in here, but focus areas include transportation emissions, so active transportation and vehicle electrification, building emissions, natural gas reduction in buildings, zero waste, urban forestry, and then community activation and education. It's really acknowledging that the city can only do so much on our own, and we really rely on our partnerships with the community to achieve our reduction. And then city leadership is about us showing by example when we do things like electrify our fleet and retrofit our buildings. So for each of those focus areas, we have a lot of metrics so we can track how we're doing towards our goals. And we created this metrics hub, which is on our website, and I invite you all to check it out. There's many metrics on that website, and it's interactive. One of the things, the first metric is showing our greenhouse gas emissions from that 2022 inventory compared to some of the previous inventories we'd done. And the really exciting news is that we have reduced our community-wide emissions by 29% since 2005, and we're really on track to hit that goal of 50% reduction by 2030. A big contributor to that emissions reduction was AMP transitioning to 100% clean electricity in 2020. And with that, our big task now is to transition our vehicles and our buildings to using that clean electricity with things like electric vehicles, heat pumps for water and space heating, induction cooktops, and electric dryers. And that right there pretty much sums up like our CARP strategy. We have actually met some of our 2030 goals already. So miles of bikeways, we have a target of 70 miles of bikeway by 2030. We're at 61 and we still have 5 years to go. So we're really on, we've been doing 2 to 3 miles a year, so we're right on track there. We had a target of 12% of all the vehicles registered in Alameda being electric. We are currently at 11%. Average indoor water use, we have a goal of reducing that to 42 gallons per person per day. We are at 43 gallons as of 2024 per person per day. And natural gas consumption citywide. This is data that came from PG&E that showed us like how much gas they sold to Alameda customers in 2024. And we were at 14.7, I think that's million therms of gas, but that is essentially our goal, was to get to that level by 2030. So we're really on track in a lot of ways in some of our big metrics. We have more work to do, of course, particularly with building electrification and vehicle electrification, getting people out of their cars to walk and bike when possible, planting more trees and reducing our waste. But I think we need to focus, but I think we're making progress. And I'll show you some of the things that we did last year. So in 2025, we had a really active year. We deployed our first public curbside EV chargers. Those were at the Everett Commons Housing Authority apartment complex on Eagle Avenue. Those are now live, and we have plans to deploy more curbside chargers throughout the city. We also just made live 3 new public chargers at Bull Circle Immigrant Park over behind Target. Those are live and they are being used, which is great. We are looking at additional city lots and trying to bring chargers to as many of our city-owned parking lots as we can as well. AMP issued a lot of rebates for residential and commercial EV charging, 55 e-bike rebates and 47 used EV rebates. We as a city adopted requirements that when single family and duplex homeowners do remodels in their homes, that if they are replacing an air conditioner or moving an air conditioner or buying a new air conditioner, that it should be a heat pump that also provides heating and cooling using electricity. And if those homeowners are doing remodels remodels that include electrical updates, and those electrical updates are happening near appliances, that they provide an outlet for future electrification. So for a heat pump water heater, a stove, or a dryer, that you would have an outlet so that you can be ready for the future. We had a home electrification fair last year. It was at Faction Brewing. We're going to have another one this year on May 2nd. It's going to be in conjunction this year with the Alameda Bike Festival. So we're hoping to get some new audience and some new people come by the festival. I hope you can attend. AMP provided a lot of rebates also for things like water heaters, furnaces, dryers, electric panel upgrades, and induction cooktops, which was great. The city updated and adopted an updated zero waste implementation plan. Parks has been supporting a lot of volunteer tree planting events in parks, and if you've driven by Main Street Linear Park this year, you'll notice there are more than 100 new trees. They were all planted by volunteers, many of them high school students, and I went to visit during one of those days, and they were having the best time. We started in 2024 and continued in 2025 a Youth Climate Ambassador program. And that is led by a high school intern that works in my office, comes in once a week after school. And she is helping us organize all the environmental clubs at the Alameda High School. And those club leaders come and meet at City Hall. They hear what we're doing, what programs we have that they can plug into. And they're also coordinating amongst themselves so they can get ideas from each other about different climate events they can have on their campuses. In 2026, we've got lots of plans as well. We're going to be updating that greenhouse gas inventory for the year 2024. We're a little bit behind, but we're trying to catch up. We want to make sure we're tracking as we get closer to 2030. We're also going to do a municipal inventory, so that's going to look specifically at city operations and city buildings and city vehicles. We're going to continue to deploy our public chargers, curbside, and city parking lots. We're looking at some additional requirements. I mentioned the AC to heat pump replacement requirements for single-family residential. We got some cost effectiveness studies for non-residential, and it's cost effective to do that for non-residential buildings as well. So we're looking at that. I mentioned the home electrification fair. The zero waste plan is adopted, and they're looking to start implementation, and there's some budget requests this year for that. And then our urban forest plan should be coming to City Council for adoption later this year, and Parks is continuing to find new opportunities for planting trees in parks with volunteers. Sea level rise is another area of big focus for us in the city. Last year, we supported the Climate Arts Initiative Rising Tides, which included the Bandaloop event out in Building 43, the Rising Seas dance performance series that happened. There was a photography festival, a whole bunch of events that I think really brought people out to the shoreline and educated them and taught them a lot while they also really enjoyed art and culture. We had a sea level rise planning fair at REAP Climate Center this past September. That was a culmination of our first phase of citywide planning. We had 150 people come. It was a really great event at the REAP Climate Center, lots of activity. Additionally, the City Council approved some initial design concepts for adaptation projects at Bay Farm Island and at the estuary near the Posey Webster Tubes. And we are excited to have secured grant funding for that Bay Farm Island project. We're going to continue that to the next phase. We also got grant funding to continue the next phase of our shoreline adaptation plan. And that plan is going to meet the requirements of the Bay Conservation Development Commission to meet SB 272 requirements for every shoreline community in the Bay to create a shoreline adaptation plan by 2034. So we were one of the first, I think, 4 or 5 communities to officially launch that process, and we're excited to get started with that next phase. And then we're continuing to look for funding for more projects. We've got the estuary project. The estuary project that was approved still needs funding, and we're looking at a project on the South Shore Beach area, which we've seen with the king tides has created some flooding issues in the immediate term that need to be addressed. With all of that, we're going to continue outreach and education. We are using paid community partners to help us with that outreach. They've really been able to multiply what we can do. They've been out on the beach on the weekends. They've been at the farmers market. They've hosted walking tours. They hosted a couple of kayak tours to get people into the water. We've done all kinds of, we did in-person workshops, all kinds of ways to sort of engage people, and really focusing on the people who don't necessarily come to a public meeting on a Saturday afternoon for 2 hours, but really trying to expand and get the information out to as many people as possible. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions. We will be taking this report to the City Council on March 17th and asking them to adopt it. And if you have any comments you want me to put forward to City Council, I'm happy to do that as well.
Let's start. Sure. I have a clarification question. I was just wondering, how did you choose the metrics that you chose and also choose the goals associated with those metrics?
The goals were largely selected when the plan was first updated or created in 2019. As part of the plan update process, we had a lot of stakeholder meetings. We did surveys. We went to boards and commissions and City Council and got feedback on whether those were still the right goals. And we essentially, they were modified a little bit based on feedback. We also wanted to be consistent with the state. So the the net zero emissions by 2045 aligns with our state goal, and that was one that we shifted a little bit to be better aligned with the state. And we also looked around at what other jurisdictions were doing and what was feasible for us, and while being ambitious and able to meet goals, scientifically relevant goals.
And do you have a sense of how Alameda compares? I know we're not at that 2030 time point, but how Alameda compares to similar communities who are making similar efforts or under similar climate-related pressures?
I haven't seen specific numbers from other communities, but I don't think that many other communities can say that they are on track. And so so I think we should have a lot to be proud of that we are on track. We actually got recognized by from the Institute of Local Governments with a Beacon Award this year for our efforts on greenhouse gas reductions. I think we're incredibly lucky that we have a municipal utility with affordable electric rates that is providing 100% clean electricity, and it makes our job just so much easier. So I think that has gotten us a lot farther than many other communities can be. And like I said, I think our mission now is to really just talk to people about how we can shift from those appliances that run on fossil fuels to pushing them onto clean electricity. And the technologies are 100% there and really good and really affordable.
And one final clarification question. You mentioned the Bay Farm Island Sea Level Rise project had received 60% design funding for 60% design. What does that mean? Is it funding for the design?
Yeah, so we're designing in phases. So when you're doing like a capital project like that, there's typically like 10% design, 30%, 60%, 90%, and then 100% in construction. So it's just refining the design. We started out with kind of a high-level concept, and then we got that approved by council. And then each phase is just refining the design and providing more detail. So it's just sort of showing we're 60% of the way to 100% design. And when we have that, we'll be ready for construction.
Do you know when that's going to be?
Well, it's going to be funding dependent. I think our funding for the 60% design is over the next 2 years. And then it'll be a few more years after that to finish the design. And then the big fundraising is that we need money for construction, which is the really expensive part. And so that's going to be dependent on getting the funding.
Thank you.
Hi. Thank you for the presentation. I learned quite a lot already. A couple of questions. I'm just wondering, one thing about the EV charging placements, what were you thinking in terms of more of those?
So we have 2 programs that we're working on. One is in city-owned parking lots. So that's like in parks, the downtown lot across from the theater, the public lot that's off Webster on Santa Clara and Haight, the library on Bay Farm Island, that kind of thing. So city-owned public parking lots. And we're looking to add chargers there where we can. Those are always van accessible spaces for accessibility as required by law. And then we are also working to add chargers to the curbside. And we're working this is pretty innovative and new. There's a handful of cities in the country that have done this. Our thinking behind the need for curbside chargers is that a lot of people in Alameda don't have the ability to add an EV charger to their home. Either they don't have a driveway, they don't have the money, or they live in an apartment and it's very complicated to add an EV charger to an apartment. And so we want to and the best place to charge a vehicle is really at home. When you come home from work, you can plug it in and let it charge overnight. So the attempt is to try to provide essentially home charging as close to your home as possible, if not in your own driveway. So we're partnering with a company called It's Electric, and they're operating in a number of cities across the country. And in California, they're in San Francisco and LA and in Alameda. And they basically tap into excess capacity in a building or homeowner's electric panel. And they enter into an agreement with that owner, they have a whole arrangement, and they pull the power out to the curb. And then they stand up, which I wish I'd included a picture. It's a really sleek, almost like a bollard. It's about the size of a parking meter. And it sits at the curb. And then the parking space in front of that charger is designated EV only. You park there. In order to charge, you do sign up on their app, and they ship you a cable. So there's no cable that's permanently attached to the charger. And a number of benefits of that is that it doesn't create a trip hazard when it's not charging. It's not strewn about the sidewalk when nobody's plugged in. If somebody comes and clips the cable to like steal the copper, all we do is replace the cable, and it's not like you have to have somebody come out and the whole charger is out of service. And we can make sure that the cable that we get fits the type of plug that your individual car has. So that's the model that we're testing. There's 2 chargers at the Everett Commons building on Eagle Avenue that are available for public use right now. And we have been getting really good response from residents and building owners who are interested in hosting a public charger on their property. And It's Electric is entering into agreements with them. And then we're trying to get funding so we can deploy those chargers.
Great. When thinking about new structures being built or put in place, has it been thought to look at, like, for example, Gene Sweeney Park or any of those locations and potentially new things that might be happening in the Gene Sweeney open space?
Absolutely. So are you talking about charging still?
Yes.
Okay. Lots of other things happening at Gene Sweeney,
Yeah.
too. We actually got a grant from the Alameda County Transportation Commission to install 1 fast charger at Gene Sweeney Open Space Park at the existing parking lot by the playground. So that's our next priority after Boho Circle, and we're excited to be doing that. When new facilities get built, a new park or a new building, anywhere in California, the building code requires that they have EV charging. So for example, at Estuary Park is under construction right now. The city is, as required by the building code, building the underground infrastructure so that a charger can come in the future. And then I'm working with Blink Charging, who's our partner for public charging, and they're going to come in and install the equipment and own and operate the charger.
Great. And you said that EV charging is a requirement for a new structure. Okay, great. Forgot my other question. Oh, you said something about a climate center, but I missed the name. What was the name of it?
Oh, I think we had our Seal Rise Planning Fair at the REAP Climate Center, REAP.
Where is that?
It's it's right near the Posey Webster Tubes entrance. So like if you were to go into the Posey Webster Tubes, but you take the very last exit to get off and stay in Alameda, kind of behind Marina Village Shopping Center. It's right over there. It's on a half-mile stretch of Union Pacific Railroad right of way. And they are doing really cool things there. There are volunteer opportunities. They have chickens and bees and sometimes baby sheep. And they've got a nursery, and it's fantastic. It's open to the public, to people walk their dogs through it. So I recommend checking it out.
That's great.
I think they have community potlucks too, because I've driven by it and I've been curious, so I've Googled it. It looks like they do a lot of cool stuff.
They do.
And they have a lot of opportunities to get involved.
There is maybe a weekly or at least a monthly community dinner, and they do, I think, storytelling and music, and they also have volunteer opportunities for like individual residents, but they also host teams of Google employees who come for the day and do volunteer work and that kind of thing.
I learned so much. I have a question about it's electric, and I think it's just, I think my allergy medicine's getting to me, but you mentioned if it was the curbside, who pays for the electric then? You said they tap into the building's electric?
Yeah, there's two ways they can do that. One is they tap directly into the existing electric panel, in which case they would have to reimburse the owner for any electricity that their charger uses. The preferred model would be that they create kind of a secondary meter on that property, and then its electric could be billed directly for the electricity they use.
Okay, so you get the permission of the property owner to be able to tap into that, and then so it's not specific to that building. Anybody can use it as long as you sign up and
No,
get.
we just call them a host property. They're
Okay.
just hosting the electric, they're providing the electricity and hosting the equipment on their site. But when it comes out to the curb, it is 100% public and available to anybody to charge there.
And then how much is it for somebody to sign up and get that cord to be?
That is free.
It's very cool. Okay.
Yes, I recommend it. The company is great. The charging is 40 cents per kilowatt hour.
Could you say the name of the company again?
It's electric.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a couple questions, but if you want to go.
No, they've asked my question.
Oh, okay. You asked one of my questions.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, good. Thank you. I'm completely aligned in purpose, but I have some questions to kind of poke a little bit, so I'm not trying to be antagonistic. I want to put that out there first. With the push to, and it looks like zero electric vehicles, that's the ZEV acronym.
Zero emission vehicles.
Yeah, so it's not
is-
hybrid, right? Like it's in
Right.
fully electric. Is there any consideration for promoting just decreased fossil fuels? And I mean, is that part of the planning? Like, I know we have like the marquee metrics here. I'm just curious, is it all or nothing? Because
No,
there
I
are
don't-
gradations, obviously.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's all or nothing. I think that hybrid vehicles are kind of a lot more mainstream, and that's something that people are pretty tuned into already. The electric vehicles are the ones that have a little bit of a price premium on them when you first buy them. They are much cheaper to own and operate and to fuel. And they don't require maintenance, which is amazing. But I think that's the piece that requires a little bit more education and a little bit more incentive to help with that initial upfront cost.
That makes sense, and a nuance I hadn't thought about. And then the other like aspect of that I'm curious about, and not that it would be within your purview to deal with, but just being part of the collective government enterprise, I'm wondering if anybody's thinking about this. I've learned from the SoCal fires that happened earlier, was it last year? I don't know, time's a flat circle. That one of the new risks that's happening in climate change is electric batteries, electric vehicle batteries at their explosion risk. And I'm just wondering, like, is somebody dealing with that?
Yeah,
Like, as we invite more and more,
Right,
like, EV
right.
On island, just
Yeah.
curious if you have any, like, insights or just,
I know that the fire department is very aware of that risk and has the ability to respond to those
yeah. And just
events.
maybe part of our emergency plan is like, you know, as these numbers go up, that risk, like it, right, like everything has trade-offs. So
Sure.
just something that occurred to me to think about. Oh, and then my last question, when you're talking about the shoreline adaptation, I think I know what that means. I probably don't know what that means, but one of the things I'm thinking about is there any part of that like we should be thinking about, like ensuring accessibility or contemplating like any impacts that it might have? Not to say that
Yeah.
the shore is already accessible necessarily, but just thought I would ask the very inartful question to get your thoughts.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very good question. So when we're talking about shoreline adaptation, we're talking about parts of the shoreline that are low elevation, that where when we have high tides, when we saw this when we had king tides, when we have storms, and in the future, more permanently, when we have rising seas, that the water overtops the shoreline and comes in and floods the city. And there are certain places on the shoreline that's happening, and certain places where that water can come in and then it kind of can distribute and flood pretty large portions of the city. And we have some neighborhoods in the city and some portions of the shoreline that are like really low lying. So essentially, we need to bolster the shoreline. We need to raise the elevation. There's lots of different ways we can do that. Our principle when we're doing that, and we've been working through a committee, and the public comment we've received is to really try to do nature-based adaptations first. So rather than having a concrete seawall that's vertical and hard, especially when we have enough like horizontal space, having a levee and having that levee slope as gently as possible. And then we can plant things on there. We can add habitat. We can put a trail on top of it. We can do all kinds of things. So for example, on the Bay Farm Island project, that proposed design is a levee. And we're trying to incorporate a lot of habitat features and nature-based components, especially on the water side of that levee. And then on top of it, we're within BCDC jurisdiction, so we have to provide access, and that will include a trail, and that trail has to, meet ADA requirements. And then we're also thinking about ways that we can provide things like step downs to the beach, so that rather than trying to like climb down those big rocks that are out there, we can have like a little bit more of a access to the beach. Some of the design includes some additional kind of beach areas so that we can have, you get down and then you can kind of hang out down there. Also overlooks. We're going to be replacing the fishing pier, or what's used as the fishing pier over there. It's not really a pier, but with something probably a little bit more formal. And then, having like benches and shade and interpretive signs, and making that a place that can be even better than it is today.
Great, thank you.
Hi, Danielle. Thank you for the presentation. I had a couple questions that might take us into a slight tangent, but I was digging into the dashboard a little bit before we came here today. The first is how do we work with other programs like AC Transit, East Bay Paratransit in the process of electrification for the vehicles, especially if that's a not a huge portion of our traffic, obviously, but there's buses coming through every day. Is that part of the plan, and how do those partnerships work if it is?
I think it's a good question. I'm not directly involved in transportation planning for the city. We have a whole transportation team that works on that, and they're really closely aligned. We have really close partnerships with AC Transit and the other transit operators. They all also have their own climate plans and their own climate goals, and in some cases requirements to electrify their fleet. WIDA is like right now building electric ferry docks, I guess, so that they have electric ferries. They can come into Alameda. They're going to upgrade a couple of our ferry terminals to be able to charge in the very short amount of time that they're sitting at the dock here. And before they turn around, they can charge those ferries. And so I think those agencies are very much already working on plans. I did hear that just recently that bus electrification is a particular, not that it's a challenge, but that there's not a lot of providers that provide electric buses. And that's true for things like, like AMP and the city have like electric F-150 trucks, and that's becoming more common. Some jurisdictions, I think, have electric garbage trucks and even fire trucks, and the city is looking at electric police vehicles. But some of those like really specialized vehicles, there's not necessarily a lot of vendors available, but I think it is becoming a little bit more common.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. I was just thinking about how that might impact these numbers. Are those fleets that aren't necessarily owned by the city, are those part of our GHG inventories, or do they reflect in the dashboard at all as part of the traffic going through the city?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's based on vehicle miles traveled in the city, and then we take half of that. So if I'm traveling from here to Oakland, half of that trip counts for Alameda's inventory and half of it counts for Oakland's inventory. And then all the trips within the city. What I don't know as much, and I could find out for you, is how buses are counted, or if that's really every vehicle that's traveling.
Okay, thank you. And the other question is totally different. So maybe I should open up to the commissioners if there's anything on transit before I change to food waste. Okay. For the food waste aspect, I was reading a little bit about the restaurant and big organization, I guess, food waste programs. And I'm curious if you could tell us a little bit about that and maybe how that is impacting in the 2026 priorities.
I have to say, I'm not also on the zero waste team. So we also have a zero waste team at Public Works in a different department. So I don't have as much information on food waste. I do know that they are working hard to meet state requirements, SB 1383, which says that all food must be composted and cannot be put in the trash any longer in the state of California. As we all know, that is not actually what's happening, but that is the law in California, no food in the trash.
Yeah, I think I'd be curious if we could invite somebody from that portion of the CART plan to come in and speak maybe to how that impacts our communities. Who are they if it's like donation based, like who are they working with? What are the partners like? I could see that being of interest to this panel here.
There is also a portion of SB 1383, it's about food recovery. So grocery stores and restaurants that have unused food are required to find ways for that to be reused. And I know our food bank uses those partnerships and other organizations.
I think that would be interesting, though, to have a presentation on that. I agree. I know there's programs, I only know this because the teenage boys sign up for it, where restaurants will like notify you that we have leftover food, and every boy in the city goes running to these restaurants. And so they know they do have programs so that they're not wasting the food. But I think it would be an interesting presentation to hear, because although I like that because it's not wasting food, it would be nice to see if we're donating it someplace.
Yeah, and I'm particularly thinking about our communities who often are in need of additional resources, and I'm sure many of them do use the food bank and other places where they can get discounted foods and programs. But if we could extend that network, I think that would be really fantastic for us.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
We're creating a bridge, like maybe if they're not as nimble and able to like go get it, but like
Right.
maybe put them in the loop.
Yeah, if they're
somehow.
not using like too good to
Somehow.
go or whatever.
They find that, the boys find the food, that's for sure. And I know there's local companies like Summy Freddy's that gives and donates their food every night to different organizations. So I know it's here, I just don't think we talk about it enough.
That was my last question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Will someone be planning to come back and talk to us more once some of these like sea level rise projects evolve and become farther down the line in the design phase?
Yes, I would like to come back and talk to you. I think, let me think about what the right timing will be on those projects, but I think probably towards the end of this year could be a good milestone.
Thank you.
I was hoping too that if we could add something for specifically on the shoreline accessibility, the beach access. That's a big, mobility is my background, and I'm always so frustrated to see that we don't have the mats that get you down to the water, and we don't, but my understanding is that is Parks and Rec.
Or regional.
East Bay,
regional
yeah,
parks.
that's what I was worried about. And you talked about the fishing pier. Is that the bridge that goes between the main island and Bay Farm?
Well, adjacent, on the Bay Farm side, adjacent to that wooden bridge is a pier.
Right,
Pier,
that concrete,
that concrete
Yeah.
An
thing.
entity.
That
Okay.
I think used to be the touchdown for a bridge that used to go and land at Tawada Park,
oh, okay.
like a long time ago, and that piece is still there. So that is going to need to be replaced, and we've heard that there's like a whole fishing community that really utilizes that space. So we're looking at how we can provide that in a more formal way.
So that
in the
would bring
future.
up that bridge. That bridge is horrendous. It's horrendous on a bike, but think about chairs and
Yeah.
mobility devices. It always scares me. I keep
great point,
picturing
yeah.
the traffic for the kids.
Yeah.
You know, when they ride their bikes, they're just gonna fall through that thing.
There,
Oh, it's
if I could, the transportation team is also working on both an immediate term and then a longer term plan for that bridge. Very aware of the accessibility and bumpiness
Opportunities.
of that bridge. So that would be a presentation from the transportation team.
Okay.
And there's, I think, obviously some immediate things that need to happen. And with sea level rise, it is very low, and at king tides, the water is right at the deck of that bridge. So we need to find a way to elevate or reroute or something. The challenge is there's very little headroom with the road bridge that's above. There's not enough room to really bring it up to the elevations that we would want in its current alignment. So there needs to be some more thinking about what to do
Okay,
with that.
so maybe we can talk about that with transportation, because that bridge is a disaster waiting to happen. I just keep waiting.
I think, yeah, I agree that that bridge is very uncomfortable. I think I'm not an engineer, but I don't worry about its sturdiness. It's just horrible to ride your bike over, and I can't imagine on the scooter or anything. And this maybe isn't part of your thing either but I'm also, after you go over that bridge, that incline to come back up, that is in no way going to pass any sort of ADA incline requirements.
Right. And I think that's where, when transportation is looking at the longer term, like whether it's that alignment or a different alignment or something different, then obviously it would need to meet ADA requirements.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that up. I'm glad you brought that up because
Yeah.
I was thinking it.
Thank you.
Yeah, really informative. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, Presenter Mueller. Okay, so that was just an informative session, so we will go ahead and move on to the next agenda item. Let me just close this slide, sorry. Okay. Next is going to be our new standing agenda item of making selections and having a discussion as commissioners to go through city calendar of events as well as other commissions and boards that are active to discuss how we might like to engage with them, whether it's through attending, volunteering, promoting the commission, etc. So this will be a little bit of an open-ended conversation that Chair Mullings can lead, and we'll kind of go through some of those items. If you grabbed it on the way in, there's this list that's printed directly from Legistar, so it's not very aesthetic, but it has a full list of the meetings that are taking place starting tomorrow through June 16th. It's too soon for a lot of these agendas to be posted, but you can at least look at dates and times. Obviously, some of these are repeating, but they're just to get an idea of if there's something coming up that you might like to attend or watch for, to watch when their agenda is posted, and then if it's relevant to Commission on Disabilities, to either attend or just, engage that way. I did not print out multiple copies of this, but then there's two other websites that we might use just as visual aids if you'd like. One is the City of Alameda's website. I printed out upcoming events there for the next month or two. And then there's also the library website that we can look at for events there. And I think that's it. I'll leave my other updates that are event related for the staff communications. So if you guys want to start the conversation.
So it seems to me that based on our prior conversation or conversations plural, there's been interest expressed in like the Rec and Parks Commission in particular. Obviously, transportation comes up a lot. So my initial proposal is like if anybody's interested in anything in particular, and I think what we had talked about is not necessarily committing to attending the meeting in full or participating either as a resident or in any other capacity, but at least monitoring agenda and minutes or just kind of keeping tabs on it or just kind of being a filter to see if there are items of interest. So my thought is like on a volunteer basis, or if anybody sees something of interest, like to collect those first. Because I don't think we have a mandate to do like one-for-one mapping or anything like that, so.
I had no idea there was a golf commission, just so I'm learning so much. I mean, I am interested in the Parks and Rec from just a access perspective. Like, there's so much of this city that I think needs help from a mobility perspective. So I would love to do Parks and Rec. Doesn't mean that nobody else can. So anybody else feel free, but I would be happy to volunteer for that.
I'm also interested in Parks and Rec
Yeah.
for other areas of accessibility that I think
Yeah.
could use improvement too.
Okay, good.
And that's something that's come up so often. We've had those conversations. It's been identified by other members of the community as well
Yeah.
as something that they really desire. And I think the only way to access the beach that I know is to borrow from the Crab Cove facility, and that's like the only access point.
Yeah.
And I think they only have one beach wheelchair, and so it's a constant source of frustration. So
Well, and I think even I tried to call and donate mats, and I couldn't get anyone to call me back. And so I find that very strange. Like, I want to give it to you so that people can access the beach, and I couldn't even get that to happen. And I think it's just whose job is it? Who's responsible for that? And it just kind of gets lost in the shuffle. So for me, I would love if we could get Parks and Rec to present to us about what their plans are for the next couple of years, because I don't know that we've ever had that, right?
Yeah, and I think we've talked about it like a yes and on that, where a lot of it ends up being East Bay Regional Park.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to the beach, so
But can we not hear from them?
Right.
So I have an email that's outstanding to them. So we're trying to get in touch with East Bay Regional
Yeah.
Parks.
I brought this
I
up
think we've
last
made
time.
overtures
Yeah.
before,
yeah, I think so too.
and it hasn't been reciprocated.
I mean, I think it's like to your point, like, or like the anecdote that you shared about trying to donate mats
Yeah.
and sorry, my day job, like it just becomes a liability thing and it's that, like, it doesn't fit neatly. And it's just like, how do we, it's just acknowledging, it's not for, like, everybody would love to get to the outcome, but it's hard, kind of as like on a one by one basis. So I think these like kind of commission level, like visibility and maybe trying to figure out like what are those intercept that we could help facilitate it seems like a good opportunity.
Yeah.
My guess is that the Recreation and Parks Commission probably has closer ties with East Bay Parks.
Yeah.
And they might be in more frequent communication, so we could use that as a way, if we can advocate to the commission, or they might have more historical information about what's been tried and what's worked and what's not worked. And so that
Well,
might be
that's
an
what I found interesting
opportunity.
when we were talking about the bridge. I always was told that that was East Bay. And now she said that it's transportation, which makes me happy. I think that means we have a little bit more control over it. But it's been in poor shape for a very, very long time. And each time we've been presented from transportation, that's never come up.
Yeah, Commissioner Schmitz, I think that the last time we heard about it, I could be misremembering,
Yeah.
but they said there was like a gap in funding
Yeah.
where they couldn't do that part, but they could do like adjacent parts or something, so maybe it gets up to that bridge. I'd be very curious to hear the update on that bridge, because we all were very curious the last time, and I feel like that's what they said, was that
Yeah.
they didn't have control or they didn't have funding or something like that.
I mean, even if you take out my little niche market of mobility devices, it's just a bike.
Oh,
It's-
yeah, it's terrible.
It's sight impaired.
Walking on
It's
this.
walking. It's literally, if you look down, I think I was there recently where they've added a board as a fix.
Yes.
A fix. I'm
Yes.
thinking, like, are we afraid we're gonna fall through, or so I think it gets worse as time goes by, so.
100%.
Yeah, I wish we could somehow address those kind of things throughout the city. Like, I thought I was gonna get a badge and I could walk through the city and be like, this is that. Like when I walk through the city, those are the things I'm looking at. It's just where my mind goes all the time. And then I don't know what to do with it once we get it.
Is that part of the, and I still haven't used this, is that part of that
See, click, fix.
Yeah.
thing? Or is it outside of this?
I
scope
could
of
imagine
Yeah.
there's some,
protection
And then
of
it goes
that?
to our ticketing system over here.
I'm looking at you. I don't know.
I mean, yes, as you're walking through the city, any issues that you see that are accessibility related, you can report to See Click Fix in the physical sense, physical
So
world.
maybe.
But I know that bridge is on their radar, and like Commissioner Bueller said, it is sort of like a funding project priority issue. So I would love to hear an update as well. I think that's a good
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
So on a positive note with See Click Fix, I wanted to share that I put one in, my first one, in 20 years. But I was super excited because I swear my mind goes to this all the time. I take a walk, the neighbors must hate me, but I'm thinking like strollers and wheelchairs and like no one should have to go into the street to get to where they're going. It bothers me. And so I was walking down and there were some overhanging bushes and nobody was caring for them. The person who lived in that house didn't care. And I put one in and they immediately went in and fixed it. So much so that you went from like have to form a single line to being able to go to side by side. And I was like, okay, this is really cool. That it works. Yeah. So I think it's important that we do put those kind of things in. But I think you're right. The bridge is probably it's a little.
It's had a couple things.
That might not work so well. Yeah.
Not such a quick fix.
Yeah. It's not so fixed.
I like the idea. Like, I mean, do we want to talk a little bit about like what's our goal? Like, you know, my idea is like just kind of monitor and like maybe like we have it as an open item and like what did we learn from our like foray into looking at other commissions and their agendas? Like that's my expectation or like what I would be probably smart to commit to and be able to actually deliver on rather than overpromise. But I'm open to other proposals on like, you know, kind of what do we want out of this or what's our mission going in, you know, with anybody saying.
I kind of wonder if it'll depend on the commission or board that we're attending. So maybe between now and our next meeting, if we have the opportunity to go to one or two of these meetings or read the agendas before the next one, we can see, all right, maybe we want to go to that meeting and actually present or ask them questions. Are we allowed to go as public comment potentially?
We're still residents.
Yes.
I'm cracking a joke. Yeah, we definitely.
So if there were questions, we could be like, hey, we want to know more about your agenda on this or that as our commission as well. So maybe we just see what that would look like.
I don't know about like official representation on behalf of a commission.
Yeah,
like,
how does that work?
I'm asking a very like honest question. I don't know. I don't know if we have to look at the bylaws. My understanding.
Would it
From
have
what I
something to
would-
do with how many of us were there?
Like a Brown Act.
Right.
So if you were to actually attend a meeting and have something that you'd like to say about an agenda item, you would just introduce yourself as a member of the public. You also serve on the Commission on Persons with Disabilities, but you're there representing yourself as a resident. But I think the side note on that is that if you see something on the agenda or you're watching the meeting and something is interesting, you don't necessarily even have to comment on it in that space, but that could be a recommended agenda item for a future meeting here. So you would bring it to our next commission meeting and you would suggest a future agenda item, and then we could invite that same presenter or have that same content presented here. And that's where you could then have those questions.
Awesome.
Yeah.
As a follow-up question, could you also, just to expedite it and maybe get it on an official agenda earlier, could we email you as a suggested agenda item? Or not necessarily? Like just the topic, not an opinion on the topic.
Right. That's kind of a gray area because I do take suggestions or like directions from you guys in an informal way over email, you know, like occasionally those things will come up. But if we were to do it strictly by the book, I believe you'd have to bring it to a meeting here, suggest it as an agenda item during commission communications, and then the commissioners would vote if they would like to hear that item.
Okay.
Yeah, but if it's something
keep
that's
it-
like blatantly obvious and relevant, I could see it just like, you know, that being an email. But yeah, but I think that whatever those rules are called, parliamentary procedure, is that it's suggested here and then voted on.
Commissioner Lip, he was an
Yeah,
expert. on that.
he's my advisor on that one, exactly.
I don't know. I kind of my inclination is leave it a little bit more loose at this stage, and you know, to the extent people are interested, you know, I think for myself, like I don't have a ton of experience in city government. This is the only commission like I consistently attend because I'm required to and I have committed to do so. So for me, this is a way it's like a forcing function to open my aperture, and we've had so many interesting presentations. You know, it feels like a natural fit, and it feels like we've had many discussions that there's, you know, kind of a general interest in doing this. But my inclination is to keep the the scope wide
I
and kind
agree.
of like go with like, let's see where it takes us. At least we can revisit at the next meeting and maybe formalize it a little bit more into like delegation or designation. I don't know what folks think about that.
So what I heard maybe is that if we attend the Parks and Rec and there's something that comes out of that we're interested in, then we could come to this next meeting and say, hey, we attended one of these meetings and these topics came up that we're interested in.
Yeah.
And then we could set up something for our committee specifically where we could dive deeper into to our subject matter as opposed to like, because it might not be the same, right?
Yeah.
So that way it feels like if there's just a topic that interests you, great, but it's not like real formal, you have to attend.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm trying to
Yeah.
get to.
Yeah.
I get that, yeah.
And perhaps at the same time, if you're inclined to go to the Rex and Park
Yeah.
Commission meeting and speak, because I'm assuming they all have a component where it's a non-agenda public comment opportunity to go speak on something that you're passionate about. I think that's also great and wonderful, and we should.
I hear what you're saying.
Support
It's like
that
more
too.
like a dialogue. It's like a two-way
Yeah.
where we're also bringing our
Personal.
personal,
passions,
yeah.
But what if it has to do with accessibility? Because like I was doing some looking around on the Parks and Rec website and like of their visuals, the maps they have of different parks. And I was just seeing some things that I wanted to recommend that would make it easier for communication accessibility. So would I go and present that as an idea, as a personal idea or as a recommendation from our commission, or how does that work?
That you would just email to me.
Okay. Will do. There we go.
Lily, like, Lillian's like, how do we help you?
We haven't had very many community members attend our commission meetings, but it has happened where they've come and they've brought up issues that they noticed in the city.
Yeah.
And so I think that
Very few though.
very few, unfortunately. But I would have guessed that some of these commissions that are probably like better attended from community members get that a lot. And so I would think that that's a venue that a lot of people probably use to bring up issues. So we could do that too.
Well, yeah, and like we have First Amendment, like you're a resident. Like we don't check our resident card at the door.
Right. Well, that's what I would be
yeah.
curious about. So if I'm a person who needs to wants to access the beach, would I come to this commission and publicly speak, or would I go to Parks and Rec?
Or would you go to both?
Right.
Double
So I
up.
think we may capture people from that perspective
Yeah.
too, who just go there because they've heard that the beach falls under Parks and Rec. So I'm going to go there, and they don't necessarily think of it from our perspective.
And I think there aren't clear jurisdictional lines sometimes, like as we've talked about, like that even would be East Bay, you know, like it's just one of those
Yeah.
things. I just think like community involvement is like our goal, you know, and just kind of,
sure.
you know, making progress, so.
And to be fair, I don't know that people know of all the, did you know there was a golf commission?
I did, because I used to make
You
jokes about
did?
which one I was gonna join.
I didn't
like,
go last week.
it just,
And now I feel bad. But
Please
I don't
don't.
know that people know of all the commissions that are available or how to utilize them for their, I mean, I didn't know this commission existed until there was an opening. So I don't know that people know how to use it to their benefit.
Yeah.
Like if you're having an issue with that bridge, would you come to this meeting and say something? I don't know that people would.
Well, I think that might be a benefit for us if we choose to attend some of these other meetings. Because I agree with you. I don't think many people know that there is a Commission of Persons with Disabilities.
Yeah.
Because when I say I'm a commissioner on the Committee for Persons with Disabilities, people say normally, I didn't even know that existed.
Exactly.
So, but of course, everybody knows Parks and Recs exists because they utilize it, and a program comes out twice or 4 times a year, I don't know.
they have a building, they have
Yeah,
vehicles.
and I think in certain commissions, we may have a very strong overlap in terms of need, or connection to communicate what our commission is about accessibility and people with disabilities in the community, and use these other city organizations or commissions like transportation or Parks and Rec, because there's an obvious crossover there. And so I guess my point that I'm trying to make is, I think it would be good to go if we could. Part of the reason I believe I'm on the commission in the first place is because I went to every single one of those pool meetings starting in 2020 and spoke and said things and somehow caught the mayor's eye about that I knew a little bit about pools and what it would take to have accessibility. And so I think from that perspective, it makes sense that when we go and say that who we are and why we're speaking, and we also sidebar are on this commission. Not in a threatening way, but in an educational way as to why we're here. So yeah, I'm interested in the Parks and Rec Commission, and I may be wrong about this, but I think I don't know if the Golf Commission comes under that anymore. It's the whole thing has been moving around, and it's, I think, a little not even functioning, the Golf Commission at this current moment.
I think the social service one is also interesting. I, again, didn't know it existed. So
Mhm.
I'd be
I think
interested in
even
that.
like the art commission, like just to go and, like if we're spending city resources or creating some opportunities and just having the voice or the visibility that we try to bring.
I think all of the meetings could be relevant to attend from a communication accessibility standpoint. How are all these boards and commissions communicating to the public, to the residents? How is that communication accessible?
So what I'm hearing is that there's a decent amount of interest in maybe perhaps on a volunteer basis within what's within our own personal bandwidth in going to some of these commission meetings that we find relevant and interesting as a community member and saying, however we need to phrase it, I'm a resident of Alameda. I also sit on the commission for persons with disabilities. Here's my perspective and some issues that I see that I would be interested, because I don't think in that non-agenda public comment, you aren't receiving any feedback back from the commission. You're just presenting. So presenting something that you're
In your personal
in your
capacity.
personal capacity.
Yeah.
I'm interested in increased access to shoreline for people who use mobility aids or something like that. Saying your piece, I think you get 2 minutes to talk. And then going
Yeah, 2 to 3 minutes, depending
2 to
on
3
how many
minutes.
people there are, yeah.
And then to the extent there's something relevant or you're like a particular interest at our next scheduled meeting, maybe bring something like insights back or opportunities or suggestions back, and then we discuss it and put it on agenda by vote is what I think would be the other piece of that opportunity.
So I'm just the secretary, so I'm not going to enforce anything, but I would just really strongly encourage you as the commissioners to, over the next couple of months, our next meeting is scheduled for May, to really try to look at an agenda or two. I'm not saying you have to attend meetings because I realize that might be too much of an ask, but to just peek in on some of those agendas once they're posted, or even if the minutes get posted, recordings, sometimes are live streamed on Facebook, things like that. Just even just to get a few minutes of information so that at our next meeting, perhaps you'll have something a little more concrete to share from your experience in that way.
I know this one is one I don't think we've ever heard from, but just given our conversation with Danielle earlier, I'm kind of curious about the Public Utilities Board. It also overlaps a little bit with my work life, so I might check out that agenda, see what there is there, and yeah, I'll bring back some details. I wonder what they're up to over there. I'm curious if anybody else is gone, but I'm going to guess no. Yeah, another one that I didn't really pay attention to before. Cool.
Would it be too much to ask for if people wanted to volunteer to read through some of those, just so we're not duplicating work?
Yeah, I definitely am willing to I'll read through agendas because
That's
I'm
what I'm
also
gonna do.
now very curious about what is agenda'd and what kind of what tends to get brought up as scheduled items. I'm happy to do the planning board. I was thinking, I was like, oh, I'll do the Ps, but then you got public utility, because reading agendas is like not that much work.
Yeah.
Compared to actually attending. But Shrub, I think, is a good one. The social service human relation board, just there can be quite a bit of crossover there in terms of interest. And we're back in May, is that right, Lillian?
May 13th,
May 13th.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
according to this.
Yeah, so I'll try to do the social service and human relations and then the Parks and Rec
Okay.
before our next meeting.
Maybe we can talk, because,
Sure.
yeah, Parks and Rec is tomorrow.
Well,
But there's
that one is,
another
but there's
one.
another one.
Yeah, there's another one in April.
Before May, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't do,
Like they meet once a month.
Yeah, they meet
Yeah.
once a month.
but remember, you don't necessarily have to go.
I was thinking to watch
They
it,
can be remote, right?
on
We can
Zoom.
watch it
mostly, sorry.
and look at the agenda.
Yeah, mostly because I'm curious about what's happening. I've lost track of what's happening to the pool. I have no idea what's going on. And I wonder if I'll look at the agenda for tomorrow, because I'm curious if I missed it or it's coming back to city council on the 17th, because we got waylaid about parking spaces.
The pool is a hot topic.
Yes, I know.
If you're a swimmer in Alameda, boy, that is a hot topic.
Did we have somebody who was interested in transportation? I just want to make sure that's covered off. Okay.
It can be.
I'm like, I'm interested in insofar as I'll read their agenda in the minutes. We'll pick
Yeah,
up on that.
that's
Yeah.
kind
Hear
of where I
from
would be.
transportation quite a bit.
Yeah,
Yeah, they also visit us quite a lot, I agree.
okay.
I'm interested in the library board, so the library board. So I'll take a look at those agendas. I think their meeting, their next one occurs at the same time as our meeting, so I won't be able to go, but
It'll be hot off
I'm
the
happy to
presses.
look at the agendas and bring it back in May.
Oh, yeah, we're on the same date.
Yeah.
Well, they're a half hour before. Do you mind? Running on
over.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can do the planning and zoning administrator. I don't know, the zoning administrator hearing, I don't know if that's, I mean, it's publicly noticed. I don't know how much that's going to be relevant. And then, yeah, I think we have enough coverage. Like, I want us to feel very open about it, but I plan to like at least look through the agendas before we meet next. So, like, if nothing else, I can be a safety net of like, I'll give some idea of what I thought might be of interest if there's anything that others didn't attend or pay attention to.
So we have library,
Parks and Rec,
Parks and Rec, social services,
public utilities.
public utilities. Am I missing one?
I might check out the historical board too, because I think that is off cycle. Yeah, that's off cycle. Maybe I can watch one of those.
Yeah. Sounds great.
Cool.
Thank you, commissioners. So if it's okay, the second part of this conversation is upcoming events, just to see if there are any that are natural fits for our commission to maybe try to attend to, as one thing we discussed in January was to maybe table at certain events or volunteer or anything like that. So to that end, I just wanted to let you know, I have an email out to ARPD for their spring shindig, which is on April 18th, I think it is. And that's kind of like in conjunction with Earth Day. It's a big annual event. And some of the other city departments might table at that one, but I thought that could be a great way for us to engage with the community. So I haven't heard back yet, so that's not official yet, but I'll have to email that one since it's in April. Any updates? And then another event or events that are pending are with the library for July for Disability Pride Month. So I met with the library this past week, and we're working through the possibility of doing a film screening as Commissioner Knadler brainstormed at the last meeting. So it would be a film screening of a film directly related to disability, and then in a perfect world, we might also get some advocates from the civil rights movement, the disability rights movement, to come and do a Q&A. And then in addition to that, in July, the kids program and the kids librarian team are going to look at possibly rebranding their summer reading program just for that month, so that some of the reading programs, the sensory movie times, and things like that are more under the Disability Pride Month celebration banner. So that's kind of a cool thing for July. So once I have more details on the film screening, it will either be probably, most likely, a Thursday or a Friday because their weekends are booked. So once I have more details on that, I'll be sure to send that out and make it more official here at the commission. But just want you guys to have a heads up that those things are in the works.
And I'm sorry, what was the film?
Crip Camp is the one we're looking for. If for some reason we aren't able to get the licensing for that one, we are going to see if there's other possibilities, since the Bay Area was such a huge spot of activism for the disability rights
I can
movement.
help you with Crip Camp.
Sorry?
I think I can help you with Crip Camp.
Brilliant. So we
So-
might have a contact through Commissioner Knadler, but then if you can help with that too. So definitely email me and yeah, because that's our first choice, just because we might be able to get a local connection present as well for Q&A. So we'll see.
Maybe our connection's the same, because he lives in Berkeley. Yeah. Yeah, so he's a client of mine too, and he's a producer, and
Yeah,
yeah.
James.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
So I gave, so yeah, you should share it with.
He's great,
Yeah.
and he would love it. He loves when people talk about Crip Camp, so he would come,
Oh, amazing.
He's, any opportunity that he can talk about it, he will. Do you want me to ask him?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we don't have a date finalized yet. So I don't know if you
Okay.
want to wait for that or just kind of put the feelers out there, but thank you, Commissioner Schmitz. That'd be awesome.
Yes, he
In
would.
July, right? Like,
Yes.
Do you have a certain idea of when in July? Or
a great question.
So it would not be the first week because of the 4th of July parade and 4th of July, celebration. So let me see if I have it in my notes just one
Do
second.
we have any participation in the parade, by the way?
I'm going to be out of town.
Oh.
I'm just like, I know you guys are all going to just quit now, but
I'm working on the parade as well. We did have a cute little pedicab last year, so working on the parade as well. And then the Thursday or Friday, so I think it was either the 4th or 5th Friday of July, or a Thursday. Thursdays were a little more open, so I'm just waiting to hear back from the library team if they've chosen a date or two that we can then pitch for the screening.
I'm not gonna call him yet, because if you get him excited, he'll be like, yes, and then if it doesn't work, he'll be sorely disappointed.
This is a
Okay.
silly follow-up question to that, but would this be during like normal library hours? Like 9 to 5 business hours?
Yes. So
Okay.
unfortunately, they're not open for evening events anymore. Their hours are fairly limited. The benefit of that, though, the one pro that I thought of during our meeting is that we could do pointed invitations to some of the adult day programs in the area and maybe invite their communities to come and be part of the screening, the events, the activities, and just use that as an option too. So.
Okay.
And then
Thank you.
do you post notice? Because now I'm thinking about like, we'll have a quorum or like so do you publicize it somehow? I'm just curious about the Brown Act.
Yes. So if 3 or more commissioners attend the event, we would post it as a special meeting.
Okay. Thanks. Exciting.
Do you know the date of the Alameda Bike Festival?
Said it was May 2nd.
That second? Okay.
Because that home electrification fair would be in conjunction with that. So I was going to see if we might want to attend that one as well. I'm working on what a table for us looks like, trying to get some supplies and things. But that would be an idea too. So April 18th for the spring shindig pending, and then May 2nd, the home electrification fair would be also something that could be pending.
I have the commission banner in my closet at home.
Wondering where that was. Okay, thanks.
I keep walking right past it on my way to these meetings.
That's okay. It's safe there. Thank you.
I have an idea about engagement and outreach that would like go along with the banner, something that we could have as an activity at community events that would be accessible for all. So the example I thought of was having an accessibility is community wall, something that people could write or draw what accessibility means to them. They could share their experiences or ideas, and they could contribute anonymously. And I think this works because it's simple, it's interactive, it's accessible for all ages, and it generates community impact, community input, which is exactly what we want. And so, you know, have something that high or low you can reach, that you can go around all sides, that has pens or crayons, you know, easy to grasp, but that anyone can use, you know, that they can talk with us if they want, or they can just write or draw. And I think it would be an interesting way to get the community involved.
It's very inviting too, where it's one of those things where sometimes people might be intimidated by not feeling like they're an expert or
Yeah.
know how to talk about it. So it's very open-ended.
Yeah, and we could
Great
write
idea.
starters on there,
Yeah.
you know, to get
Could you
people
get something
going.
in Braille?
Yeah, yeah, have something in Braille also, definitely.
It's a good idea.
Great idea.
Thanks.
I like that.
Thank you.
I
So
can't
should-
draw, but I would think that's-
Like if we were gonna
anyone
go to
can.
any of these events, like to avoid I'm fixated on the brown act today. I don't know if anybody can tell, like apparently that's where my brain is wrapped around the axle. Like, should we email you, Lillian, and just like,
Get a head count.
yeah, I mean, to the extent we have our calendars in place and know that, like, I don't know how much notice you need and.
Yeah, much like my email in advance of the Gibbons Sidewalks and Trees Plan meeting, I'll just send out the date and the information and then request that anyone who might attend
Perfect.
email me. Because
Okay.
even if for some reason 4 people think they'll go, 4 commissioners think they'll go, but only 2 show up, that would be fine. We just
Yeah.
want to make sure that we've noticed, just in case. So it'll be the same, where I
Okay.
would send out the email and give you the option, yeah.
Thank you.
And what's the best source to find these events? You said there's a community calendar on the city website?
Yes, so on the City of Alameda website, there's a calendar. It's linked at the bottom of the homepage. If you scroll down to the tabs below the like boxed icons of important links, there's just an events thing there. And then you can filter dates, search keyword, etc. So all kinds of things are, synced with that calendar. The only thing that's typically missing would be library events. Library events are usually posted only to the library website. So you could check there as well.
And would this calendar include, I'm just thinking like fun, other fun like low
Restaurant
lift?
week.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Alameda's or Oakland?
Alameda. This is on the city website, yeah. I was like, oh, shoot. Starts March 20th. 20th through 29th.
Yes, all kinds of fun things are posted on there. So it's commission board meetings, city council meetings, as well as city-sponsored events.
I was thinking about the summer movie program. If we could have a table, like especially with that kind of interactive community art.
Yeah, that would be the perfect place.
That would be,
for it.
because there's going to be kids and families all coming together, and that could be a nice kind of like passive way to interact with people
Yeah.
while you're waiting for the movie to start or something like that. That would be kind of fun.
Definitely.
I'm sorry, how much lead time do you need to post if we're going to attend?
I think it's like 1 or 2 business days prior. I mean, for formal agendas, it's 7 days.
Yeah.
But for a special meeting, if it's like a scheduled meeting outside of a regularly scheduled meeting, like we have an agenda item we need to discuss, I think that's 12 days. But for an event showing, I think it's just as soon as I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm interested in the Alameda Spring Shindig. I think that would
Okay.
be fun. I just don't have that's also spring break for my kids, and I don't have my calendar planned out, but we could
Sure.
email you Is that the appropriate way to go about it?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. And I will update you all as soon as I know more about if we can table, what that might look like. And I think I already said this, but I'm working on also trying to get us little pins or, like little promo items that feel tangible so we can connect to the community that way too.
Oh, look, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I will be that movie. That's my kid's favorite movie.
Are you serious?
That's also my son's favorite movie, that whole series. Yeah, so funny. So speaking of events as well, I have a pending email out to AUSD and with the direct intent of connecting with the Unified School District about ways that our commission can either volunteer at events, serve at their community events, maybe pop into their newsletters, connect with their special education families, whatever that may be. So we are in the works of planning a meeting so that we can brainstorm some of those things. So I'll have an update for you on that as well. Anything else about events or commissions, boards?
One thing about boards, just now that you mentioned AUSD, like AUSD, obviously it's a school district, it's not a city
Correct.
thing, but I know we've talked before about maybe having visibility there. So just throwing it out as an idea, not to revisit our approach or anything, but another thing to keep an eye on. And I'm also interested in the police department beat meetings, which I need to figure out how to find, just as a resident even, but those are
Yes.
two other opportunities to keep in mind.
Yes, the beat meeting schedule is posted on Alameda's website. If you just search police beat meetings, it'll come up and then you can find your beat and find your meeting schedule. I've asked about representation as like commissioners or even as ADA coordinator at those meetings, and it's not quite the like relevant audience or the relevant context for it, but I think attending as a resident could be really helpful just so that we can get an idea of issues that come up or discussion points from residents, and maybe if we want to speak to that in a future meeting.
Also, I think it is relevant because, for example, like there's city, like kind of a tangent here, but Mesa, Arizona was the first like autism certified city. And the reason that they got there was mostly by training over 3,000 city staff, including police officers, all the first responders, people that work in the city offices. So I think it is totally relevant to police, just not maybe the physical accessibility, but definitely the sensory and the cognitive. I think, there's always training that could benefit helping the disabled.
This is such a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I think it's very relevant that there's a resident that lives in Alameda who, I'm sure everybody is probably aware of him, but she's an autistic son that he can become, if you don't know who he is, he can become very aggressive, or it seems like he's being aggressive. And I think one of the things that has always impressed me is in a sad way, because she's had to do it, but the mom really goes around and talks about him so that he doesn't get hurt, because he has been hurt. Because people aren't aware of it. So I think it is important for us to talk about things like that, especially with the police department, so they know how to handle situations like that, so that he is safe. But I also get it, if you don't know who that person is, and there is a large male, saying the things that he says, it can be very intimidating. So I think that is something that is important to the community, and things that having that mom speak, or having other families speak about their experiences with their family members, I think would be really impactful.
Yeah, and training officers to be able to recognize the signs and the signals of when someone is disabled or has a cognitive or a sensory disability, so that they know how to then act, and teaching them the appropriate way to then react or act with that person.
Or if they're deaf
Exactly.
and they're not following commands, well, they're not following commands because they don't hear you.
Yeah.
So I think that's a real fear for people who have those things in their household.
That makes a lot of sense.
I was just going to interject that I think an invitation to the police department would be great for a presentation here. But in meetings that I've had with police department representatives, they do actually do several trainings for all officers of all levels throughout the year, every year, on different topics related to interacting with people with disabilities. What does it look like to have sensory overwhelm? What does it look like to, safely sorry, what's the word I'm looking for?
De-escalate.
Thank you. De-escalate a situation. Thank you. So they do train in a lot of those tactics. And so and I know I'm interjecting here outside of my scope, sorry, but so one conversation that we had was, could we highlight some of those trainings at a beat meeting? Because that was something that I was pitching to the police department, was to, if I were to come as a guest for a beat meeting, or if we were to have a commissioner there or something, then that would give the police department a chance to really highlight that these are the trainings we do. This is how we are, building our understanding of the disabled community within Alameda here. And they could also talk about their voluntary registry, that provides families a way to, connect with the police department directly, so that if there's a call to a certain neighborhood, they'll know, like, oh, in this geographic area, we already have a lot of these folks registered, and we know who we're going to go see. And the feedback I received is that they would be very open to that kind of conversation in an actual police officer training context. What the beat meetings are, though, is like a smattering of residents from a neighborhood who just go because they want to hear the crime stats for that quarter.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different of a context, and that's what I was told, is like, that's not really the right place to discuss those things. But I have encouraged them to really highlight some of those trainings they do, because I think a lot of people don't realize how much our police department has built up that
And
side
we should
of
be
their.
proud of that. We should
Yeah.
talk about that.
Well, I was
Absolutely.
wondering, Is there, I think I heard you say this, but I'll make the pitch if it's not already on the table, but like an invitation for a presentation to learn about what they're doing, but also like give an opportunity for like a representative from the police department to, in this forum, say, here's what would be helpful for when you're engaging with the police, or like, here's what, here are like ways you can like be a good partner in this, and just like, we need to speak the same language, or, like have the same terms of art, or ways that we can help each other understand. So I think like, because part of it is like, I want to hear about obviously them as like public servants and like, law enforcement, and like they have the right to carry a gun and detain us, and with that comes responsibility to do it responsibly. So I want to hear about how they're doing it responsibly, but I also want to hear about like, what do they need from us? And us meaning us as representatives of the community, and like this as a forum to like get the word out. Like, how can we help them help us,
And given situations that we've had in this city,
literally.
even
Yeah.
recently, I think those are important things. Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't know if I had a hearing problem, or if I had, and maybe I would if I had the circumstances, but if I had a child with autism or some sort of deficit, I wouldn't know to register that at the police department. I wouldn't even enter my mind.
Out of all the things you're dealing with too.
I wouldn't
Like,
even think
yeah,
about it.
yeah.
So I think we've had enough incidents in this city, far too many, to be honest. I mean, one is too many, where those situations have come up. So I think speaking about the positive, that they are trained, and
Yeah.
this is what they train. I didn't know that. I'd hoped that, but I didn't know that.
Yeah, same. It's good to hear.
So there's so much there can be a lot of negativity around police, but I think there's some positives that we should
Definitely.
talk about.
And we've had presentations just historically about like the CARES team, and about,
okay.
like mental health specialists. I don't know exactly what the right terminology is, like not ride along, like they have an official role, but like it's definitely evolved policing. It's definitely like very mindful. Not perfect, nothing's perfect, but I love the idea, like the way you put it, like let's talk about like what's going right sometimes, or
Yeah, I
getting the
think we
word
tend to
out.
focus on so much of the negativity, but we should talk about the things that we do well.
Yeah, and I think part of the thing that we could, like an opportunity that we have is making people not afraid to
Yeah.
avail themselves of that resource,
Yeah.
because that resource is not hostile necessarily, like just not assuming that, like we could help dispel that myth.
I think having our presence at some of these activities with a table and a banner of who we are gives us the opportunity to present some of these thoughts The similar situation was when the firefighter came in
Oh,
to
yeah.
speak to us.
Yeah.
And I learned and didn't know that if you register yourself as a disabled person in the case of a catastrophic event, they know who you are and what rescue methods you might need in terms of power wheelchairs, or if you have a service animal,
Makes sense.
and it would be a good thing, maybe, not initially, because we're just starting this, but maybe after we build those connections with the fire department and the police department, to say, hey, come stand at our table and let everybody see
That's
who you
interesting,
are,
yeah.
and that you're part of the disability community as well, in a very positive way.
I totally agree.
So
My
that'd be
phone
great.
rings off the hook for people who, my name is on a bathroom wall somewhere, for sure. I will get calls from fire
She's gonna bring it
departments and police departments. They say, can you come? We've got a chair stuck in the road, or we've got, and so just simple, like, what do you, like, we're not emergency
So
services.
interesting, yeah.
Like, I have to say that 10 times a day. We are not emergency services. You need to call the fire department. But they don't necessarily have the training on that equipment either. So they call me and go, will you please come out and help us get this chair? And I'm like, okay, sure. I'll come get a chair out of the middle of the street. But, they don't,
Yeah.
that's stuff that people don't know. And could we train them? I've tried. I mean, I do train them, but
Yeah.
that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
So so
And
I
there are a
just
lot
don't-
of chairs, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
That's a lot of chairs, a lot of people. So I just don't think that people know that that's out there.
Yeah.
Like, if you get
Exactly.
stuck in your chair, you don't call me. I can't help you.
Yeah.
You actually call the fire department.
Yeah.
Or if you fall, you call the fire department to pick you up. I promise you, I can't pick you up. So but I think if people just knew what those resources were, and having a table and having a sign, we might get those questions. What do I do if this happens? And that will be something that then we know we need to educate on. So I think if people had a platform to come to, they would maybe ask more.
I'm thinking too about the content of the ADA newsletter. Like, a lot of that, I think, would be relevant if we, I don't know, had printed copies, or like some of the articles that I think you've written. You're writing that newsletter, right? Yeah. I find fascinating, and they're in a similar vein where I am learning a lot, and then how do we share that with the community? So that's a good resource of material to have at the table as well. That could be
Yeah.
really interesting.
Maybe it's about us posting just as community members on forums we're part of, like next door. Oh, I'm part of a commissioner, and we just talked about, or I don't know, sharing stuff that
Yeah.
way. Just to put it more out in the public that's not necessarily looking for us, but that's looking for information in other ways that would stumble across it.
Yeah, it's all on the city's website, but yeah.
Yes, I mean, it's definitely available, but I think it's a great idea to maybe post it. And you don't even have to state anything, opinion or personal about it. You could just invite people to the meeting or say what it is and leave it at that. So I think that that's a good idea for the relevant forums that you might be on.
Sorry, I was distracted looking. There is a accessible, safe transportation emergency repair number that you can call if you have a breakdown, or if your chair breaks down and you need a pickup.
Yeah, have you ever called that?
Yeah,
Is it your number?
they answered.
That would be
Yeah.
funny. It's her cell phone.
I checked it before I put it in my contacts, because does it really work?
There's some billing issues with that company.
I never used it. I just,
Obviously, you don't need to, but
okay.
there are some billing.
It says free repairs for
Yeah.
free rescues.
It's not.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's what we hear. That's the feedback we get. So just be careful.
Let's call them right now.
Let's put them on speaker. But yeah.
Commission is taking over.
You are in the middle of a commission meeting.
I know, like, wear those deputy badges.
No, no.
Okay. If there's nothing else about the events and commissions and things, we can move to commissioner communications, and anyone can share anything they'd like to share with the group, if that's okay.
I don't have anything else, but this has been a great.
I have something I'm excited to
please.
share.
Yeah.
So I think, as you all know, I've been looking at accessibility through a broader lens, more than just physical barriers. So looking at sensory accessibility, cognitive accessibility, and communication accessibility. And I came up with a concept. It's a framework for exploring how the city might test small accessibility pilots, and I'm calling it Alameda for All. So examples would be like at the library having sensory kits that they could hand out, or quiet areas, like, obviously a library is quiet, but designated quiet areas, or more visual guides. Or like another example, at a park, having playground communication boards, or calmer seating areas, and just clearer signage in general. So it's not really a program, but just I thought it's a way that we could explore ideas through small pilots.
I love the idea of the framework, because again, it's like, it helps just kind of launch you into the conversation and like pulls or invites others into it. And I was just thinking, because for the first time, I just looked through that part of the website with the events, and there's something about like Walk Alameda. And I'm like, how do you layer on or, append like an Alameda for All element,
Yeah.
not to rebrand it or take away from Walk, but it's just like, just using that is just like you can automatically find an inroad.
Yeah.
It seems like really easily. So great.
Yeah. So I wrote up a whole framework,
Oh, wow.
and I'm totally happy to send it to you guys if you're interested, or talk about it more if you're interested, either way. But
I'd love
This is
that. Thank
very
you.
cool. Yes.
That's great.
I'm very
Awesome.
intrigued.
cool.
I'd be very interested.
I have a couple copies too, if you want to take a
Let's do it.
copies. Just have two though, so you guys can share that one.
Okay. But you'll send it to her?
Yeah, I'll email it to Lillian and then she can send it to everybody. Yeah,
Great.
thanks. So, yeah, the overview is basically talking about how much Alameda has already done, because we've done a lot. So this is in no way saying we're doing a bad job. This is just saying, here's another way that we can start looking at things through sensory, cognitive, and communication accessibility. And there's some examples below on what each of those could look like in simple terms. And I think why this matters is because improving sensory and cognitive accessibility can support broader community participation in civic life, which is what we're looking for. And a lot of other cities are starting to look at this part of accessibility too. And I actually found some examples of what some cities around here are doing with some of their like museums or public places, some accommodations they've made. So I have some good examples too of what other jurisdictions are doing. And then I put some thoughts about what our guiding principles could be, like inclusive by design, which would mean we consider physical, sensory, cognitive, and communication accessibility when designing public spaces and services. The next would be common predictable environments, so whenever possible, reduce overwhelming noise, lighting, and sensory complexity in civic spaces. Clear communication, so using intuitive signage, visual supports, and clear information to help residents navigate public environments, and creating public or flexible and welcoming spaces by providing sensory-friendly times or quiet areas. And then I put a little more information on some pilot ideas I had down there. So sensory-friendly hours. I couldn't find anything. I did a little bit of digging on the library website. I couldn't find anything specific to sensory, like a sensory story time where it's just a little quieter. I feel like that is a real opportunity that I believe a lot of people in our community would benefit from. Yeah, and then I think another one, I'm really excited about the idea of communication signs at parks, like just trying one sign at one park. And I did find an example of other cities are doing this, so I have visual examples I can send you guys, but basically like a big board that has just very simple icons for kids that aren't speaking yet, families that have English as a second language, or anyone that has any sort of speech or developmental disabilities. So it would have things like run and jump or water, or just it has like 100 different and really colorful, clean. Obviously, you could have it designed however you want, but just I think it's a way to make our public spaces more inclusive. And I think if we just tested it see, if 6 months, did we get any feedback? Do we see any engagement increase? I think it could be a useful test for us. And then if it's successful, something to possibly consider rolling out on a larger scale.
I love that.
Thank you.
I know.
I'm really
It's
excited about it. I'm
very
glad you
cool.
guys like it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I think
It
that's
doesn't have to cost,
fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah.
it doesn't have to cost a lot of money either.
No.
I do a project in Jamaica every year, a couple times a year, and we do sensory boards that we make out of things that we just find, you know? So I think if you could if you're given a space in a park, there's not a lot of money that has to go into doing something like that, and it could be such a huge impact for a family that has somebody with that need.
Yeah,
It's a
absolutely.
big deal. And you know, they're starting to do these quiet airports. Have you been to a quiet?
Yeah.
If you don't know that it's coming, it's kind of weird. Like you walk in there and it says this is a quiet airport, and I'm like, okay, I'm definitely going to miss my flight because they don't announce anything over the loudspeaker. There's no bright lights. There's no. It's amazing when
Like
you know it.
SFO is one now. Right?
Yeah. When you know it, it's really cool. If you don't know it, you'll definitely miss your flight. But I think about an airport where you walk in and, oh my gosh, it's sensory overload for anybody. And so to make it just a quiet space, even during certain hours,
Yeah.
that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good for you. I think that's awesome.
Thanks. Thank you.
I forgot until you just mentioned it that I went to a sensory integration park last summer when I was in Vermont.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'd love to hear what elements it had.
Yeah, we just found it by accident and yeah, I'll tell you all about it.
That's awesome.
I took pictures and everything. It's like, I did that,
That's
I
so
think.
cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Is this something we can add as like a formal agenda topic to make I don't know what procedurally is in our like toolkit, but like if we could make a recommendation to the council or like, I don't know what we would have to do to try to actually implement this.
Parks and Rec Commission, maybe.
Yeah, okay. But like maybe as a noticed agenda item, we check the box and make sure that public has visibility. I don't know if we need to do that, but I figure this is kind of like, it's an organic idea, like
Yeah.
a self-developed
Here, this
idea. It's
might-
not from a different commission, but I want to take advantage of like, well, we're talking about it right now. Can we like, if we need to, put it on next meeting's agenda?
Yes, so it can definitely be an agendized item. Commissioner Knadler sent this to me in advance, so I am I'm just communicating with City Clerk's office to clarify what would be the best way to move forward with it. But yes, it's exciting. It's exciting. So we'll definitely have follow-up on that one. Just waiting for, that guidance.
Wonderful.
Just for your future reference too, I put together a pilot implementation overview. So here, I got 3 of these too. And I didn't send that to you because I hadn't put it together yet, but I can give you this one and I can send it to you as well.
Thank you.
Can't read off of it. It's my copies, but this idea, cost level, who would be responsible? Break it down to see how I really think it's not a big ask of anybody in particular.
Yeah.
Or cost.
Or, and it's a like crawl, walk, run options, even
Yeah.
for a pilot.
Yeah.
Great.
Very cool. Yeah, a lot of these ideas are things that have been discussed, so it's exciting to have it come from a second voice.
Awesome.
Yeah, to keep it going.
Great idea.
Thanks.
Okay, any other commission communications? Okay, I will do staff communications. So I mentioned it earlier, the Gibbons Sidewalks and Trees Plan is underway. We're in the very early stages. We had 2 community meetings last week and to discuss, actually just to gain feedback. So there's a Gibbons webpage that is published and you can go there and there's an interactive map. There's the full report available for viewing. You can submit public comment. But 117 trees were assessed along the Gibbons corridor, which is all those liquid amber trees. We're just focusing on the one species and their impact to the hardscape in the area, which is sidewalks, curb, and gutter. And 5 have already been posted for removal after the protest period, and then like I said, we're in the early stages of what's next. So anyway, so watch for that as it gets a little more clarified as we go. I'm sure it'll come before this commission to just talk through other approaches and possibilities for that. But just wanted you guys to have a heads up. So it's alamedaca.gov/Gibbons is where you can just find all the things. Digital accessibility is still a hot, topic, major priority for the city. I continue to train multiple departments and also trying to follow up with departments as they do their webpage audits. And we go through all of our digital online resources. It's quite an undertaking, as I'm sure you can imagine. It's a massive project, but we are working towards that accessibility deadline of April 24th, 2026 for Alameda. And just to clarify with the rule, it's not that the DOJ Civil Rights Office will probably knock on our door the next day, but it is very likely in California that there will be automated scanners that will be going through all website resources. And finding places where they can file civil complaints or litigation, et cetera. So that's why we're working hard on this. And let's see, Estuary Park is also under construction. I don't know if you're familiar with Estuary Park, but it is going to be it's a park that was designed with inclusivity in mind. So they'll have some special features that will be, sports courts and fields for everyone, and some other accessible playground equipment. So I'm excited to see it come to life. You can drive by and check it out if you want to. But of course, if that ever shows up on like an agenda item for the Parks Commission, that might be an interesting one as well to just follow, is the Estuary Park. Let's see. I already mentioned the East Bay. I already mentioned July. Okay, so then one other thing, three more things, but one other thing that doesn't have a question attached is I'll send out an email with some newsletter dates, and maybe you guys can just choose a month that you'd like to be featured. So you can send me your little blurb about yourself, why you're on the commission, what your experience with disability is, and then a photo of your choice. So I think it would just be a great way. Candid photo or a headshot is fine, however you want to do it. But I think it would just be a great way to, put some faces to the names on the commission and continue to build that community engagement. And then related to community engagement, I've been, thanks to former Commissioner Lisa Hall, connected with the host and one of the producers from the Island Beats podcast. So they're interested in showcasing some of the accessibility work that's happening in Alameda, and I suggested that maybe I go on, but also with a commissioner. So I think it would be great if we could highlight some lived experience in Alameda with disability and what that looks like, and then I would be kind of like the government administrative representative of like, these are the projects and initiatives that we're working on. So no details on that one yet, but just to kind of put a bug in your ear that I might be asking for someone to join me on that and to be another voice on the podcast. And then I have a question. This is sort of directed at Commissioner Bueller, but also in case anyone else, for the C-Click Fix report requests that have come up a few different times. I was wondering if I could just get a little more clarity on some data points, specific questions, departments, anything like that to kind of help me to home in on what we're looking for from C-Click Fix reports.
I think I have to remember what we were talking about last time. I might have to get back to you on that one, Lynn. I can't remember.
That's fine. If you think about it, I think it came up in like transition plan update.
Yeah.
C-Click Fix is, our reporting tool. So if you think of it, just feel free to email me.
Yeah,
and then
I
that
will.
way I can know how to craft an agenda item out of that.
Okay, cool.
And that was it for my staff communications. If there's nothing else, we can go ahead and move to, oh yes, Commissioner Lyons.
I missed the name of the podcast and the background to that. I'm not familiar with it.
Island Beats or Island City Beats. I don't actually know if it's on like an app. It might be on the Apple Podcasts app.
Who does it?
So Angie, she's from Echo Housing, but she also is the host. And so I was looking at their website, and I can email you all out the link when I have more details. But they just really like highlight stories from Alameda. So it's anecdotal, but it's also kind of informative. I think it's like a little bit of an Alameda Post vibe, but in podcast form. So they do, yeah, they just highlight like special characters in Alameda that everyone knows and loves, like different stories and things. So,
Turkeys.
The turkey.
so I think it could be a really fun channel. You know, at our January meeting, we were talking about like how do people get information about our city, our town. And so I was thinking, okay, this could be kind of a fun, out of the box way to connect with, I don't know whomever the listeners might be. So,
I like it.
if there's nothing else, we can do a motion to adjourn.
And move to adjourn?
I second.
Okay, thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.